welcome back to The Resistance, the real resistance, progressive resistance media, where we take a look at politics from a progressive vantage point. My name is David D., and I will be your host today. So, last night was the fourth Democratic debates in the Democratic primary season. And overall, the structure of the debate kills it for me. The people who host these debates kill it for me. It's just a horrible situation overall. So, just knowing that, that's just kind of setting the template here. Like, I'm not a big fan of these debates where people are given such a finite amount of time to address issues and to respond. It's ridiculous. It does not serve the American people at all to have these extremely abbreviated conversations about very important issues we should be fleshing out. Okay? That's just how I feel. We need to have some long-winded policy talks on PBS or some place where it's like, minimized, the corporate overlords and minimize what they want. We're just not getting what we need in these debates. So I just want to give you my thoughts about the overall situation. It is not good. But anyways, I have my notes here. We're going to go over my notes. And I'm going to focus on Bernie, Yang, and Tulsi. I don't care about anyone else in there. I just don't. I have notes about them, but I just said to myself, no. Just the three people I support up there are Bernie, Yang, and Tulsi. Let's focus on them. Okay. So Tulsi, right off the bat here, Tulsi seemed sleepy. She literally seemed sleepy. Like her eyes were glazed over, and she seemed very low energy. And she's talked about sleep issues. She's talked about how she only gets a few hours of sleep per night. It seems like she even got less. So the energy was very low. It wasn't. She just didn't have that fire like she had when she went after Kamala in the previous debate. Where, I don't know, she was just so alert and focused. It wasn't there. Maybe it's just me how I see it, but. So she was low energy, flaccid, not her best performance at all. There was a highlight here. Let's go over a couple highlights. Tulsi rebuked the federal jobs program and openly aligned herself with Andrew Yang and his UBI. Now, this is big. If you guys know, a couple weeks ago, Tulsi came out with her own Medicare for All. She basically rebuked Bernie's Medicare for All bill, came out with her own. So I thought that was interesting. And now she openly aligned with Andrew Yang and his UBI, and she said, I openly do not support a federal jobs guarantee. So this is just, whatever's going on here is just new to me. So there has been an alignment shift with Tulsi Gabbard lining up behind Andrew Yang. I've kind of whoa, what's going on here? I wasn't ready for this. But anyways, it seems like Tulsi Gabbard has aligned herself with Andrew Yang. Tulsi also called out CNN for smearing her as a Russian agent. I love that because that is totally true. They've been doing it for months. And she even said this morning someone called her a Russian agent. It's like a literally everyday thing with CNN, MSNBC, and a lot of other corporate media just constantly smearing Tulsi Gabbard with falsehoods. She could probably have a lawsuit at this point where she's just been smeared so many times. So it's good to see her call them out. She called out Pete Buttigieg on his Syrian war rhetoric, which I thought was spot on. Tulsi was cut off by one of the CNN hosts just as she was going to attack Elizabeth Warren. I don't know if it was coincidental. Coming from CNN, I don't think it's coincidental. I think it was quite strategic that they didn't want to have another moment like Tulsi had with Kamala Harris, because Kamala Harris's campaign is pretty much DOA, okay? Tulsi Gabbard crushed Kamala Harris's campaign, and it hasn't recovered since. So CNN saw Tulsi going after Elizabeth Warren, and they said, we have to stop it. And they interjected, they went to commercial real quick. So, there's some benefit of the doubt there, but not much concerning CNN's history of who do they go to bat for, and they're going to bat for Elizabeth Warren, so it actually makes sense that it was intentional. But overall, Tulsi was a non-factor. She's had better debate performances. I hope we see her again. I want to see her again, of course. But last night was not her best. Okay, moving on to Bernie. Bernie came out measured. He came out strong, feisty at times, and gave no indicators of illness at all. He seemed strong. He seemed composed. He gave no indicators of a man who is ill, a man who just isn't well. He came out and probably did one of the best performances. It was just solid. It was kind of reduced because there was all these other side arguments that just sprouted up, and it seemed like even Bernie Sanders didn't speak for 30 minutes straight, which is weird because he's one of the front runners. So the debate just got all sidetracked with all these lower tier candidates like Beto and Buttigieg fighting it out, and Harris versus, it was, who cares? So Bernie didn't speak a lot, but when he did say it, when he did say things, they were measured and they were precise. There was a couple highlights. Bernie said to Joe Biden, you got us into disastrous wars like the Iraq War. He said to Joe Biden, your bankruptcy bill, which is hurting millions of Americans, was a disaster. Bernie also said to Joe Biden, NAFTA and PNTR with China, we lost 4 million jobs there. So he got to call out Biden on his horrible record, which we should all be endorsing, because Biden has such a horrible track record, a horrible voting record on so many things. And I'm glad to see Bernie expose him there, then and there, as he stood next to him. So that was awesome. Bernie talked about Medicare for All, as he usually does, which is the gold standard, the best version of Medicare for All, where there's no deductibles, no co-payments, no premiums, no out-of-pocket expenses of any kind. And every time he brings this up, it just wins, because it is so good. And he wrote the damn bill, so who knows best. But overall, Bernie gave a solid performance. If there was a winner, he would be in the top 3. There's no doubt about that. And he also got a big endorsement, which I'm going to do a video on later today, concerning AOC. So there was some bonus material going on during the debates, outside of the debate stage. We'll get to that later. Okay, on to Andrew Yang. Okay, Andrew Yang had a stronger voice. He had a stronger presence. Did you guys notice that? I noticed his body language was stronger, his neck was stiffer, and the way he presented his words and arguments was stronger. He just came off more strong in his tone. So I noticed that right away, and that lasted throughout the whole performance. So he kept that up. That just wasn't in a moment. That was stasis for Andrew Yang. This strong presence, strong voice. I haven't seen him like that. So that probably came off pretty good to a lot of people who don't know who he is. I like a more softer approach to Andrew Yang, where he's just talking. He's more open-ended, and he's just more relaxed. But he really showed strict Andrew Yang. And that might, like I said, that might resonate with a lot of the voting populace. Not me, per se. I like the toned down Andrew Yang. But anyways, he called out Bernie on his federal jobs guarantee. He said, quote, no one wants to work for the federal government. And then they panned over to Bernie, and Bernie's over there mouthing the words, no. And I think Bernie's kind of right, because I don't think a federal jobs guarantee guarantees a job with the government. I think it guarantees you a job through the government, which is linked up with private sector parts of the community. So it's the way Andrew Yang packaged it. I don't agree with it completely, but he basically looped it into talking about UBI is better and it'll create a trickle-up economy. So I'm glad he got those points out, which I totally agree with. He opposed Warren's wealth tax and promoted the VAT instead, once again propping up his UBI in a roundabout way. I thought that was pretty wise. He had strong Putin-Russia talk. He came out and nailed this rhetoric. And this should land with older voters, with more older liberals, and even Republicans who are into the Russiagate stuff, the anti-Putin stuff. You know, they tend to care more about that stuff. So that's actually really good for Andrew Yang to get some older voters if they see him strong on Putin and Russia. He talked about decriminalizing opiates, which I love. Let's see, the treatment. It's about treatment over punishment, which is more preferable, and I think we can all agree with that. We want people to go into treatment rather than the prison system where they get lost. He talked about data as rights, which I think is awesome. How Facebook and all these giant companies take our data and claim it. He wants to give it back to the people. I fully agree with that. That is awesome. He talked about the fourth industrial revolution, which is great. Most people have to be looking that up because a lot of people just haven't heard that before, the fourth industrial revolution. So, anyways, Andrew Yang had a great night. He had a great night. I would say he was in the top 3. I would actually say if I had to pick winners, it would be Bernie, it would be Yang, and Klobuchar. Klobuchar, I mean, she had her strongest performance. Wouldn't say she had a great performance. She just had her strongest performance. And I guarantee you she's going to create some chatter today in the MSM. Like, she seemed pretty strong. Like, she went after Warren. She went after Pete. She really was confrontational. And I think people do respond to that. But anyways, I'm just going to keep it there. This video's getting kind of long. So, let me know who are your winners. Let me know what you think of this video. Like, share, subscribe, click the bell, and meet me down in the comments.